Greetings, Internet. We are once again outside, walking down the road, and we are going to visit our friends at NōM BeEr Company. Why are we going to NōM BeEr Company? Because there's a Ki One Whisky Masterclass. So Ki One is one of like only 2 or 3 Korean whiskey manufacturers. So kind of a deal with kind of what we wanted to aspire to be, but getting a business license for a distillery in Korea is more than we want to deal with. This is Bryan Do, one of the co-founders of Ki One Distillery and the man that was running our tasting class. We unfortunately did not get to meet Mr. Andrew Shand, the master distiller. All right, we're tasting the
Ki One Tiger.
The Ki One Tiger.
This is sweet and fruity. It has a really delicious sweet and fruity scent to it. I know that sounds weird, but we should be videoing you. You're the whiskey person. It's still a little strong for me. I like the scent of it more than I like the taste of it, but that's because I'm not really a whiskey drinker. So let's get you in on that.
So yeah, it does have a nice fruity scent on the front of it. It just says ripe fruits and sweet honey. So yeah, that tracks. The oak taste is really strong up front.
I'm getting the fruit now on my tongue.
I was about to say, I don't really get the fruit in the tongue. I get a little bit of honey. I get a lot of oak, but I get the fruit more in the nose at the moment. Might come in a little more in the aftertaste. It is pretty good though. All right, so we're going on to the Eagle one. Rich oak and caramel scent. Vanilla, nutmeg, banana, and sultanas. I get caramel. I think I smell the banana and the fruit in the nose. So again, a strong oak forward flavor. It mellows pretty quick. I'm getting caramel, caramel. I think I get the cinnamon that they talk about. I don't know that I'm getting peppercorn, but there is a little spicy on the back end. Pretty good. Okay, our third flavor is the unicorn, which the little card says, damp and burning autumn leaves on the nose. Actually, I don't know about burning, but yeah, it does smell kind of like damp. Somehow both dry and damp. Dry leaves that got damp, maybe? So it's supposed to taste of orange peel and spices with a finish of honey, plums, and rich oak. I definitely get the spices. Orange peel is probably muted. There's a little citrusy note in it. That rich, earthy oak finish, they think, is all over it, though. This one is the one that's peated. The other two are not. So that's that smoky, earthy flavor that's coming in is the peated barley. These guys do a single malt barley, so single malt Scotch. So it's all barley. Just for the people in internet land. This is good.
You're going to get a lot more people.
I like this one.
We started because we had no idea what our whiskey brand was going to be. I didn't have the name back then. It wasn't even in my sphere at that time. But Three Societies made sense back then for our company.
Well, you have 3 unique different flavors, so that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Mostly it was because of the people that started it. But recently we want to be known as Ki One around the world. So we changed the company name, we changed the branding, we changed everything for that reason.
So tell us a little bit about how you came to creating Three Societies, which is now Ki One. Because we didn't quite get all of that when you were...
Yeah, how we I originally, when I had my beer company, I was going around to a lot of different places, bringing bottles of whiskey from the airport to friends' houses to drink, and it would be always Asian whiskeys. But everybody all asked me, "Why aren't you bringing Korean whiskey?" We didn't have Korean whiskey back then, and that just got in the back of my head. After I sold my beer company, I saw it as a kind of a natural progression and also something I wanted to do in Korea to make Korea's first single malt whiskey. Something I wanted to do, so it just ended up like that.
So, in your opinion, why didn't Korea have a whiskey before then?
Oh,
Is it because they mostly drink soju?
yes, mostly drink soju. The several reasons. I did my research. Number one, the GDP wasn't high enough back then. Believe it or not, the GDP has only shot up like crazy in the past 20 years. So because of that, people didn't have the luxury to drink whiskey. And the premiumization of alcohol didn't really start until probably a year or two before the coronavirus. So people weren't looking for the product also. And lastly, you also have to not make whiskey for your local audience, but you also have to export. Korea was not popular back then. Like 20 years ago, people really didn't know about Korea.
Right.
Now it's flavor of the month. Everybody knows about Korea.
True.
But yeah, back then nobody knew about it. And the quality wasn't really like you thought about Korea and you thought about maybe a cheap Hyundai car. That you didn't think about quality Samsung phones or quality TVs. Now you can, and what Korea equates to is quality for the outside world.
So, do you have like a favorite American style whiskey?
I have never been asked that.
I'm asking the questions no one wants to know, except for me.
It would probably be a rye whiskey.
A rye?
I like rye whiskeys from the U.S. That would probably be my favorite. I don't know. Maybe I'm just gonna say my last rye, which was a Willet. Yeah, a rye.
A rye?
would probably be.
And in general, outside of your own brand, which obviously is your favorite, what would your next favorite be?
Glen Grant,
Glen
12
Grant.
years.
And what is it about Glen Grant that does it for you?
Just the flavor profile of what I started whiskey with Glen Grant. I like a space side. I like that profile, citrusy, a little sweet, easy to drink. That's kind of what I like. So
Now, I think I remember you saying that you age your whiskeys in like other barrels like that have had like sherry or bakbunja or other things in them. Is that correct?
we age it in the usual suspects. So bourbon barrels, virgin oak, sherry.
All
Some wine.
Korean oaks, right?
No, these are all foreign oak.
Foreign oak. But
But
you're
we also
going to
have-
be doing Korean.
We are already doing Korean oak.
Oh, awesome.
We're doing strictly Korean oak. We have a Korean oak program in itself. And then we also share our used and new barrels to other Korean traditional spirit companies. So once they use their product, it's seasoned with whatever was in there before, and we
Right.
get it. So it adds a little bit more Koreanness to the whiskey.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. And you said the goal is to use Korean product, all Korean product, as much as possible.
In the future, as much as possible.
Yeah.
That is the goal.
So making an all Korean whiskey. I like it. And you guys, we saw you're growing your own barley now.
We are growing our own barley. We've been working with the government to grow barley for the past 2 years. We already have our own floor malted barley from my farm, so it will be a single estate, single malt whiskey coming out probably in 2 years.
So exciting. What is your favorite part about making whiskey?
My favorite part is actually making people smile when they drink our whiskey. I always think of alcohol as a medium for people to get to know each other. And because there's a story with the alcohol that you're drinking usually, maybe not a Budweiser, but if it's a craft something, beer or whiskey, there's always a nice story around it, and it always acts as a medium to get a conversation going and to talk to people and put a smile on their faces.
What is one thing that you have never shared about your journey as, doing the craft beer, doing the whiskey? Like, what would you share with people that you've never told before that you would think is important to share?
It is damn hard to run a whiskey business.
That is what we wanted to.
It is much harder than beer. Much harder than beer. That's just a business side. I've shared this to some Koreans. I used to work at Microsoft, and I was a director level, so I was well off, and I had quit that job to start a beer business. So one day, when I was at the very beginning of my beer business, I had to apply for recipes and licenses. So I was waiting. I ran and I gave my application to the equivalent of TTB in Korea. And they said, "Oh, don't go anywhere. Come back. We'll give you the final forms in 2 hours." I had nowhere else to go. I was dead hungry. I went to just a local mom and pop kimbap roll place to have some kimbap. Starving. And I was eating that in my car, waiting for the license and thinking to myself, damn. Just a month ago, I was being wined and dined with filet mignon, but now I'm eating a $2 kimbap in my car, waiting for somebody. And it was a huge wake-up call, saying, "Damn, I better succeed, or this is going to be a sad feeling to have."
So for you, happier doing what you're doing now or when you were at Microsoft?
Way happier. I loved Microsoft. I would go back to Microsoft, but you can't beat what I'm doing right now. Building a craft beer company, building a whiskey company is pretty high on a lot of guys' wish list to do in their life, I would say. And it was high on mine, and yeah, I'm living the dream right now, I'd have to say.
You're living our dream. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We really appreciate you sitting down with us, and
of course.
we're excited.
So, after the tasting, we decided to get in touch with, what was his name?
Bryan.
Brian? Why did I think his name was James? I don't know.
I have no idea. His name is Bryan.
His name is Brian, and we scheduled to come to one of the tours for the Ki One Distillery up here. So, let me, we'll do a little B-roll here in a second, show you the surrounding, because we are up in the mountains. This is, we in the mountains.
Many things were in North Korea.
I do.
We're not too sure about that. You know.
We might be.
Nah, this
Right
is,
there.
This is South Korea's first single malt whiskey. We're in South Korea.
Yeah. But so
We're in
we
Namyangju.
yes, we're there, and
10 times.
I got it
Namyangju.
one time, and I don't think I can say it again.
And we're going to first off make sure we're allowed to video.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just about to see a bunch of pictures.
Yes.
And we're gonna go meet up for the tour. Yes, we're gonna go meet up for the tour and see what's next. So the tour starts in the brew house, where one of the first things you see is a display showing some of the awards they've won. Along the sides of the building are large tanks where fermentation takes place across multiple stages. The highlight of any distillery tour is always the copper still caps. This was our tour guide. Unfortunately, we never actually got his name, but he did a great job of giving the tour in both Korean and English. He talked us through the fermentation process, starting with what ingredients are in the mash, how the fermentation is aged in the tanks, and then you get to taste the still beer. I'll give you a hint, it's thick. Next comes a little lesson on the copper caps, followed by an explanation of the importance of making cuts in the whiskey. Next stop is the barreling shed. This is where the keg is filled and the run information is painted on the barrel for organization. Next is a showing of one of 6 barrel warehouses on site. And we finish up with a tasting panel of some of their current and older runs of alcohol. Alright, so we have returned from our trip to the distillery.
Not the same day, obviously.
Obviously, yes. So, what we've got here are these little sample bottles. If you are doing the distillery tour and you are driving and don't want to taste anything at the time, you can get these little sample bottles or bring your own.
If you use theirs, there is a charge. You'll have to talk to them about that. But they do, I think it's 3 that you get. So talk to them about that. Or we did notice somebody brought their own bottles.
Yeah.
So we don't know if he was just pouring whatever's left in everything he got or what. But
we got our tasters from the trip.
These are our bottles that we had purchased.
As a quick sum up, because obviously I'm learning stuff on the run here too. It used to be called, what was it, 3 Nations or United Nations?
3 Societies.
3
Distillery.
Societies Brewery, because
Distillery.
there were 3 Societies Brewery.
3 Societies Distillery.
Yes, same thing.
No, it's not the same
3
thing.
Societies Distillery, because there was 3 founders and each one of them had a different country they were from. And they decided at some point to call it Ki One.
Well, Ki One has always been the name of the whiskey.
Ki One was the name of the whiskey.
Yeah,
right.
Ki One has always been the name of the whiskey, but in rebranding, they decided to take it out of 3 Societies and just name it Ki One Distillery.
Right. Now, the older ones
Come in batches.
Yeah, the older runs were sold. They were actually literally named Batch 1, Batch 2, Batch 3. So if you are at the distillery and you look at their thing and it sees something that says like Batch 3 or Batch 4, that means it's one of their older runs before they changed everything to Ki One.
These are available for sale in Korea. We bought ours here, and like I said, I had bought the Tiger as well, but I gifted that to a friend. But this one I think is Chuck's favorite. The unicorn is smoky, and he really likes it, and we both liked this one. So.
Yeah, this is more like a smoky peated Scotch. This is the Eagle. This is more like a American style bourbon, but it's got, since they do it, they age it in different casks that have had different alcohols in them. It changes the flavor a bit. So it's kind of like a bourbon, but it's not.
Because you have to be a bourbon, has to be made in Kentucky.
Bourbon is an actual legal distinction in the States. This is a bourbon style.
Okay, but then what we have here, we sort of remember what we grabbed, but sort of don't.
We didn't label anything as usual.
Okay.
That one I am pretty sure, just from the color of it, I'm pretty sure that is the Batch 4 smoked barley.
It is definitely smoked.
Oh, you can smell it on the...
You can smell it, but when you taste it, it's really a strong smoke. I feel like I just inhaled like a bunch of smoke in a fire.
Without sounding negative, if there was such a thing as like a whiskey with liquid smoke in it, once you have it on your tongue, you literally smell the smoke.
And it transports you back to a time when you were in an issue with like fire somewhere.
You're next to a campfire or a bonfire.
Not bad.
But if I remember correctly, the guy told us that batch with the smoked one was the one that was the inspiration for the unicorn.
This one has a little floral notes, I think.
That's probably the gin then.
It did not taste like what I thought it would.
Smells almost like spruce. Like Christmas tree, almost. But also eucalyptus. Spruce and eucalyptus is a weird scent combination.
I'm not sure I'm a gin person either.
It's a gin. It's dry. It's got actually it almost dries your mouth out when you drink it. It does have, I mean, like I said, it's almost eucalyptus and berries on the tongue. I mean, if you're a gin person, this might be...
That might be your favorite gin?
I don't hate it. I don't normally drink. I swear I hasn't been drinking. But if gin is your thing, this I think would probably actually be a pretty good drink.
I can't quite peg by the nose what I think it might be. Yeah, I can't peg what this one is. That's peated new make, maybe?
That might be one of the ones I did. I think I did a new make. That's definitely a new make.
Okay.
So we found out while we were there, you probably saw it a few seconds ago, but the new make is very, very harsh when it comes out, very young. It's got a ode to rubbing alcohol about it. But that's pretty much the same with anything like right out of the still. Yeah, that's either a smoked or a peated
I think
new
it's
make.
peated.
That definitely needs some time and some wood to calm it down.
Okay, so that by default that makes this a gin. All right, I like the smell of this. I'm not sure if I like the taste of it, but
Gave her Forrest Whitaker eye. So again, you get that juniper, almost sprucey nose to it that almost screams that it's a gin.
I think the juniper is what I tasted so strongly. Again, so I am not a gin connoisseur in any way, shape, or form, or a whiskey connoisseur. So my reaction is just a normal person tasting these things.
She also likes her alcohol a bit sweeter. She's a brandy and a fruit juice girl.
That's right.
So this is definitely different than the other brandy.
Did you get the juniper in that? Is that
Not
what you
brandy.
tasted? The gin.
Gin. Yes, this is definitely different than the other gin. I don't know if it's the juniper or not, but something's definitely a lot stronger in this one.
The weird thing is I really liked the scent of that. The taste of that hit me hard, though. It was strong.
Yeah, it's got an almost spearmint flavor to it. You remember those old commercials with the spearmint thing, whatever, and you're all of a sudden you're like snowing down the ski slope. There ought to be a commercial like that for this. You get, I don't know if it's supposed to be spearmint, but that's what I get. Like she said, neither of us are gin drinkers, so we're really not the best people to be judging gin. But I would say on the nose, I like this one. On the taste, I like that one.
So, afterthoughts from our tour, from meeting Bryan. By the way, there's also, in case you're not following, I write for United on the Rock magazine, which is a magazine that covers the Korean Peninsula and the military bases here. There will be an article coming out probably in August where I have an interview with Bryan as well as an interview with the master distiller to talk about Ki One and their distillery. So check for that in August. This video will probably be out before that. So
hopefully, if I get to the
definitely.
editing.
So final thoughts. The distillery tour was amazing. I think we learned a lot of great things. If you have an opportunity to do it, do it. The thing you should note is if you're in that first part where you see where we're in the distillery where they do the fermenting, that is a very warm location. The day we were there, it was a spring day. It was nice outside with the wind.
It was like 80 degrees outside. It felt like it was 95 in the room.
So just know that if you're going, you want to dress really coolly, you might want to bring your own personal fan. I'm going to guess they have to keep it somewhat temperature regulated, which is why they probably didn't open any windows or doors.
Well, you do for fermentation, but you also don't want it to get too warm because above about 90, 95-ish or so is when you start killing yeast.
Right, so I'm sure they had it temperature controlled for what they needed. We all definitely came home and took a shower.
There was very interesting things going on in there. They showed us all the stuff. They showed us the equipment, all that. It was great.
It was wonderful.
I could have used a window open.
So, I would recommend if you're going, depending upon when you're going, eat before.
You are going to be walking around for 2 hours and occasionally tasting alcohol.
Yeah, so again, if you're driving, make sure to either bring your own little bottles or be prepared to pay for the bottles to go because you don't want to be driving and drinking. But it was a great experience. I learned so much. I was very impressed with the whole setup. It was amazing. And so that was great. I enjoyed meeting the founder, Bryan, when we were at NōM. You'll see our interview there. Yeah. And you know, overall, this is Korea's first single malt whiskey, as far as I know. Like, that's produced by official distillery. And it's impressive. Like, anybody who goes, oh, well, if it just tastes like Jack Daniels or Crown or what, like, no, dude. You actually need to try it. You actually need to taste it because the amount of work they've put in, the amount of research. They've got a freaking master distiller who was trained by a master distiller. The guy has been distilling for over 40 years. And he came from Scotland to help create Korea's first single malt whiskey. That in itself, that's impressive. It's really impressive. So the fact that they didn't just like go, oh, well, we'll make our own whiskey and we'll just do this. They actually brought someone in. They sat down, they thought about what they wanted to inspire their whiskey, what flavors they wanted to come out, and it is really an impressive thing. For a person who doesn't drink whiskey, if I'm telling you it's impressive, imagine what someone who likes whiskey thinks.
I mean, and they go over all the stuff, like, unlike what I originally thought after our interview with Bryan, they don't grow all their own barley. They do import a bunch of barley, but they do have their own barley grown in the
Same region.
in the same region.
Yeah, I think the reason they are importing some of it is because they can't get enough right now
Well,
for
yeah,
what they're doing.
it takes, especially if you're doing an all grain mash, it takes a lot of grain to produce enough starch to convert to enough sugar to make enough alcohol to fill a bottle.
Fact check this, but I believe in our interview, Bryan told us that the goal is to make this a 100% Korean product, like everything is sourced locally in Korea. That's the goal, the ultimate goal. But I believe that's what he said, and I honestly, you know, even if he's just bringing in barley from outside, like I'm okay with that because they've done such a really fabulous job of crafting this alcohol. So, like I said, I'm not a gin person, so
don't really know how to judge it.
Minnie really did like the gin enough that she brought home one of the bottles, but she left it at my house. So we used it for our taste testing because it was here. But I feel like they did a fabulous job crafting the flavors that they've crafted. And because personally we do this,
We're a little more invested, a little more impressed in the
we know
the behind the
exactly
scenes.
we know exactly how hard it is for the person who is doing the cuts, who is like tasting, like finding the hearts and making sure that every single bit of what is going into that final product is exactly the flavor that you want it to come out as. So we kind of know how hard it is to fine tune it, not on his level, on a much smaller level. So on a larger level, it's very, very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, we work out of 5-gallon buckets. He works out of 5,000-gallon buckets.
Yeah. So all in all, like I will say my favorite part of the tour, and I'm glad that the person who led the tour insisted that I try the cask strength because that was smooth.
Yeah.
Wow, that was so smooth. So that was my favorite part of the tour.
And
the tour guide was amazing, by the way.
And he explained why Korean cask strength isn't exactly the same as what other countries consider cask strength. It's because of a Korean legal thing, basically.
But the fact that they spent the time to figure out about the aging process here in Korea. Does it age the same way that it maybe ages in Scotland? Does it age the same way as it does in America? They spent time researching to figure out how to properly age the alcohol and to get it to where they wanted it to be to taste so that you get these bottles. So overall, I know I sound like I'm fangirling a little bit, and maybe I am, but I was impressed. I was highly impressed. And I don't become impressed with alcohol very easily, do I?
Yeah.
We're only mostly going to give you some highlights from the tour. We're not
going to show you. We're not showing the whole thing.
No, you need to go take the tour. So go to their website, book a tour. It's worth it. It was an amazing experience, and I think everyone should go there and check it out.
If you're interested in seeing the difference in the process, like obviously us at home making stuff with buckets in our induction eye and, you know, the kitchen sink is a world different than, you know, industrial size fermenting vats and flow valves in the different buildings. And it's interesting to see the difference at a professional production scale.
So maybe we're fangirling a little bit over here. Maybe a little bit. So very impressed with the setup they have. Brian and Andrew have done an amazing job, like over the top.
I have no idea if they're selling overseas or not, but if you can manage to get your hands on a bottle and try it, we strongly recommend it.
Definitely something to try. Like even if so you can say you've tried it, give them some credit. That's the first one that's ever been made here. And the work that they put in it to get to this point so that it's actually fabulous. And they made 3 different versions of it. Like,
so there's a pick your poison kind of thing going on.
So overall, just highly impressed and, you know, total props. Once my article comes out, we'll put the link in the description. You guys can check that out too so you can get a little more detail. But there you go.
Right. So like, subscribe, do the internet stuff, have you a shot.
Have a glass.
See the Bias Coffee link below if you're so inclined. And we will see y'all next time.
Call it a midlife situation, a moonshine mindset vacation.